How did the first ever fully online Microsoft Build conference go? Did it crash and burn under the pressure of over 100,000 people attending online? Is the content and announcements even worth talking about? If you missed it, or you're only human and could only do one of the 8 tracks on offer, then this is the video for you, as we cover over 50 announcements related to Microsoft Cloud, which came out from the Microsoft Build conference. Hi, I'm Matt Carolan, and welcome to this special edition of Puck Online, as we look at the Microsoft Build 2020 conference that was on last month. Every month we will come to you online in video and podcast form, as well as in normal times, in-person events every quarter in Vancouver, Canada. Once again today, I've been able to find a quiet spot to broadcast from in downtown Vancouver. So, over 50 announcements to cover. Let's get through them. So in general, the event for the most part was pre-recorded and played to the viewers by their time zone, so you didn't need to get up at 2 a.m. to watch the live stream. Starting with a keynote by Satya Nadella, followed by sessions of your choosing from 8 different strands. Because it was online, there was more focus, I felt, and none of the glitz and glamour that normally wastes a lot of time, but is nice to see though. I think mostly because they know people can walk away from watching at any time. So just like any online content, you need to get to the point and cover the most impactful content quickly and effectively. Even though most of it was pre-recorded, they did have live Q&A with key people at Microsoft, which was great. The topics I'll be covering are Teams, Windows, .NET, Web, Infrastructure, Knowledge Management, Fluid Framework, Artificial Intelligence, Quantum Computing, Analytics, Databases, Edge Computing, Kubernetes and IoT, in that order roughly. So feel free to fast forward to your sections of interest using the subject titles below in the video. If you're on a podcast, then sorry, you'll need to have a guess of whereabouts those are. So Teams has experienced massive growth due to remote working during the corona pandemic, with daily active users rising from 44 million in March to 75 million in April. One of my work colleagues just the other day booked a call with Skype for Business, and we were all instantly in agreement to move to Teams, as it was awful and felt so outdated and slow. It took me a million prompts and plugins to install before I could even connect. However, even though the Skype app itself is dying, the underlying technology for broadcasting events, called Skype TX, will be getting added to Teams, combined with the network device interface. This will convert each participant's video into a discrete video source that can be used with OBS, Wirecast, XSplit, and Streamlabs for hosting professional broadcasts. Also coming soon for Teams will be templates, which allow users to choose from multiple customized templates when they create a new team. If you haven't used Teams yet, it's not just a simple chat or conference call app. It allows you to collaborate with many ways, with integration with many other apps. Previously I used Slack, and although I love Slack for its simplicity, Teams brings another layer of organization. You can create a team similar to a channel on Slack, but then you have lots of sub-channels under that. It can be a bit time-consuming to set up right, and everyone has a different idea around how best to create a team. So I think a template option is a great idea. A lot of this is also about integration. So you can build an app, and a template will pull that app into Teams for all the users. Another enhancement coming soon will be the ability to add Power Apps to Teams with a single click. And something I didn't know was already possible was chatbots in Teams. Microsoft are making it easier to create and manage them now. There are also new Power Automated business process templates for Teams, and the ability to share Power BI charts and reports in Teams via a Share to Teams button. Users can share these reports from the Power BI portal by typing in the team name, and the information should be shared with. Microsoft is also building on its Fluid framework with Fluid components, such as tables, charts, and task lists for Outlook and Office.com. Data in these components is updated when hosts across Office apps make them more alive compared with a static document. Project Reunion is an effort to get developers off Windows 32-bit. Ultimately, the idea is to allow developers to build universal apps that can run across multiple Windows devices. And there didn't seem to be any talk of Windows 10X. If you haven't heard, Windows 10X is the new edition of Windows 10. Not just an upgrade, but a new Windows operating system. However, still based on Windows Core OS, so your apps will still work. It sounds like it has really been designed with dual string devices in mind, and a different approach to how operating systems function. For example, they revealed that apps will run in containers, allowing for greater security and compatibility with an old app, including 32-bit ones. The reason reason for the silence on this might be due to Microsoft recently announcing that they plan to release it for single screen devices first. I can't wait for the Surface Neo to be released, which will have dual screens and Windows 10 X on it later this year. Windows Terminal reached version 1.0, so now it's safe and stable for everyone to use. And in .NET news, we saw the official release of ASP.NET Blazer WebAssembly and the introduction of .NET MAUI. Blazer is a cross-platform, open-source, component-based web UI framework for building single-page apps using .NET and C# instead of JavaScript. Blazor WebAssembly allows Blazor components to be hosted client-side in the browser using a WebAssembly-based .NET runtime. Combined with the already existing Blazor server, the release represents Microsoft's production-ready framework for full-stack .NET web development. However, this is not a long-term supported release, with .NET 5 being released later this year, so an upgrade will be needed. Talking about .NET 5, some of the features it will see are performance improvements, .NET to run natively on Windows ARM 64, reduced container image sizes, and ability to implement new container APIs to enable .NET to stay up to date with container runtime evolution. Azure Static Web Apps hit preview. It allows full-stack web apps to be automatically built and deployed to Azure from a GitHub repository. Healthcare Cloud was announced. This is basically a package of Microsoft solutions targeted at healthcare. This will be the first of many industry-aligned packages being released. Azure Resource Manager templates are getting new enhancements. This includes a long-needed what-if option for your templates and scripts. GitHub Actions for Azure are now available within Visual Studio Code, Azure CLI, and Azure Portal. Microsoft announced they have the world's fastest supercomputer for AI. Last year they invested $1 billion into OpenAI, so this supercomputer was done for OpenAI. AI models apparently run better on big computers instead of many small computers, like how the cloud computing normally leads architecture to go with. They've only made this one supercomputer, and it's only for the OpenAI organization, not for customers like you and me. But it will help Microsoft improve their products. Azure Stack, which I need to start calling Azure Stack Hub, as it was renamed last year, has seen a few improvements. Incremental updates around customer feedback, such as Manage IQ support for hybrid IT and resource provider. Third-party enhancements like Red Hat Kubernetes now works with it, and GPU partitioning using AMD GPU. We also got preview of Fleet Management, which allows you to see from a single view all your Stack Hub deployments. Project Cortex was announced, which is a knowledge management service. It will be coming to Microsoft 365 in early summer 2020. It is currently in private preview. They also talked about developer tools so that it can be extended beyond just Microsoft software stack. Fluid Framework hit public preview. This was announced at last year's build, and I think it is something that will be extremely impactful for end users over the coming years. Basically, it allows for information in files to be binded to multiple documents or sites. Update content in one place, and it updates all the other binded places automatically. For example, you update something in a Word document, which is binded to your intranet page, which displays information in that Word doc. Your update in the Word doc will automatically update the intranet site. There are a few major announcements around artificial intelligence. Responsible machine learning will bring model interpretability and fairness assessment, looking for bias in model, as well as privacy protection and a new data control features. Azure Speech Services have seen improved accuracy and more languages for speech-to-text and text-to-speech. Q&A Maker is Azure's automated API service that builds questions and answers from semi-structured content such as manuals, FAQs, and documents, and now lets users collaborate on the knowledge bases it creates and allows content managers to control the formatting of responses to users. Project Bonsai is now in public preview. It is Microsoft's machine teaching service to create and optimize intelligence for industrial control systems. It enables input from experts as well as knowledge from data, letting users understand how the AI agents work and helps them to debug when the agent doesn't work as expected. Azure Quantum is now in preview with selected partners and customers. What you get if you are in that private preview is access to an open ecosystem of quantum software, hardware, and third-party solutions. Access to pre-built solutions that run on classical computers, quantum-inspired solutions. So really, in a nutshell, it is access for developers to learn how to code for when quantum computing is ready for the masses. Azure Synapsis was announced, which Microsoft labeled as Azure SQL Data Warehouse Evolved to integrate better with analytics. Basically, it is removing the hops between the data and the analytics engine to provide faster and more current results. Synapsis Link for CosmoDB is the first database to get this feature, with other databases coming soon. It will allow analytics to be run on live operational data. Several Synapsis features that were announced include Synapsis Studio for a unified experience, integrated SQL and Spark engines, serverless data lake exploration with Synapsis SQL, shared metadata store, and built-in Power BI authoring. While we're talking about Cosmos DB, it seemed to get a lot of new features. Those included a new pricing model, Cosmos DB serverless to handle bursts of workloads, point-in-time backup and restore, version 4 of its Java SDK, improved encryption with a BYO key option now available, and improved SLA and latency with auto-scaling. Azure NetApp Files is now offered at 99.99% availability. And Azure SQL Edge for connected, disconnected, or semi-connected environments entered public preview, offering streaming, storage, and AI in a small footprint container suitable for edge devices. Public preview was also announced for Azure Arc-enabled Kubernetes, which allows for management of clusters across data centers, multi-cloud, and Azure Stack Hub. Also, SUSE Linux Enterprise Server is now supported as an Arc-enabled server. And finally, in the IoT realm, Azure Digital Twins, which was released in 2018 to public preview, saw some enhancements announced, which included a platform for creating digital representations of physical devices, environments, or processes, added support for open modeling language, addition of a live execution environment, integration with Azure IoT Hub, and it is now able to query APIs. Now, in wrap up, you're probably thinking that was a lot that I just covered, but this was just the highlights. If you want to see and hear a lot more announcements from Build and go into far more detail, check out the link below to Microsoft's Book of News, which is a nicely polished, in-depth coverage of what was covered in Build 2020. For all items we are hosting and creating, such as videos and podcasts like this, or meetups and blogs, check out www.publiccloud.ninja. If you think we've missed anything, let us know in the comments section. Our next monthly episode will be in 3 weeks' time, so make sure you hit that subscribe button. Till then, stay safe and keep challenging yourself.